Welcome. Hi, guys. Welcome to Taking Off with Mike and Jen. We have, again, amazing guests with us this morning. We have Christie and Steve Veale, and they've been kind enough to share some of their story with us. They have a lot of wisdom. So even if you think something doesn't apply to you, keep listening because I guarantee you're going to learn something from these two. So Steve and Christie. Oh, hi, honey.
See what I mean? See what I mean? You never know what you're going to get.
He's been gone, you guys, for a long time. He just got back from Japan like twice and got back last night, and I'm just now kind of seeing him. So I kind of forgot he was here.
That's it. That's how it works.
Rolls.
That's how it works.
But I missed him so much.
Yes.
I did. I missed him so much.
You can see that.
So
I can feel
anyway, glad you're back,
Thank
honey,
you, babe.
safely. So Steve and Christie, why don't you give us a snippet? Give us, the basics. How long have you been married? Kids, blah.
I'm going to start. So,
Okay.
Good. Make her good.
Yeah, make it good.
Yeah, make it good.
Exactly.
I know,
I'm good already.
I regretted my first
Yeah, you
line
did.
that I said.
I love this.
Yeah, you
I wanted her to be comfortable. So we were married in 1989. Yep. And on April Fool's Day.
Wow.
Nice.
We were
Did
also
not know
engaged 2 years earlier on April Fool's Day. 1 year earlier.
1 year
Engaged.
earlier.
Yeah. And pre-engaged.
Year before.
Yes. So all on April Fool's Day. Just that was our day. And
Wow.
weird.
That's cute.
But interesting. So so we were both living in Lynchburg, right out of Liberty, met at Liberty, all that stuff, and planning to go into ministry. So all that stuff, had this great relationship and went into ministry, moved to Boca Raton, Florida, and had our first, actually our second ministry. We were at Thomas Road in Lynchburg, and then moved to our first ministry in Boca, and that's where we had our two children. We had Micah, who is now married to Nikki, and we're going to talk a little bit about him, I think, as well. But what's interesting is when we found ourselves pregnant with Sydney, we also found ourselves preparing to move here to start Westridge, and that was an extremely tumultuous time. I look back on that with great memories, but also some regrets, because I think that was really hard, not only on all of our family, but it was really hard on Sydney, I think. I think there was a level of engagement with her as an infant, as a newborn, that we had with Micah that I'm not sure that we had that with Sydney. And I've just had a lot of thoughts about that over the years. Anyway, and then we've been here in this area for the last 27 and a half years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Awesome.
So let me ask you real quick. It made me think, did she know on April Fool's Day? Was that when you told her I'm going into ministry?
Every time it had to be April Fool's.
We talked about that right away.
Okay.
When
She knew.
Yeah,
we were dating.
It
Right.
wasn't
He was
like,
a
guess
pastoral
what?
major. I mean, I had no idea what it meant
Okay.
on a day-to-day basis, but yeah, I always knew he was going to be in the ministry.
In fact, one of the things that I found most attractive about her was how she would talk about her student pastor and her experience in high school ministry when she was in middle school and high school, and how pivotal that was for her. And I was just like, it's going to be an awesome thing to have her as a partner in ministry.
Cool.
Very attractive to me.
So we've known you guys for 27 years-ish,
Yep.
kind of since the beginning. And it's been super fun to go through the process, we'll call it 3 decades, essentially, of church. And
Our sons were good
raising
friends
kids.
growing up.
Yeah,
Yep,
that's
and
right.
still
Yeah.
are.
Yeah,
And
they are,
They
yeah.
live in different cities, but they're still,
Yeah.
there were 3
Stay in
of them,
touch.
and Mike and
Carson and Nicholas.
Yep, we're buddies. But some of the challenges specifically in why we wanted to talk to you guys was, one, a diagnosis of cancer, Christie, that you went through. And then also not only being in ministry, but raising kids and the process that Christian parents go through in raising their kids and how important it is to pass on that legacy of being saved. This is something that for Jennifer and I, and there's some listeners out there that this might be new information for them completely, like saved. What do you mean? What's this all about? But for us raising kids, that's one of the big things in our lives that we pray for and that we really want and desire, right? Is for our kids to be saved. So I want to talk about that too, the cancer and then just raising kids. Kids are challenging enough, right? And life's challenging enough. But when you go through what you guys went through pretty quickly after ministry, we'll say a few years, the cancer diagnosis, I want to talk about that because there's people out there that not only might be going through it or who potentially will. I mean, it's just, that's the reality of life, is yucky as it is. So, Christie.
Yes.
When you got diagnosed with cancer, what I want the audience to try to understand is you're going to look at it as not only you're going through it, and then Steve, my wife, is going through this. You're physically going through it. He's
Little
emotionally
kids.
going through it.
Right.
You have kids. You're going to
Little
look at
kids.
it differently because you know, you just are. How was that? What was the biggest challenge in the marriage in that, let's say, first 6 months of here's the diagnosis, this is his response, this is what you're thinking about, this is how he's responding to it? Like, just take us through a little bit of that, you know, the challenge of the marriage. Like, if you were to talk to somebody, I just got diagnosed, I'm married to my husband, I have kids, tell me stuff.
Sure. Well, we had walked through cancer with my mom. I think she passed away in September 30th of 2000. So when it was probably within 6 months that I was diagnosed. So actually, we were still kind of grieving her, you know, and her last year, we were her primary caretakers. In fact, the last 6 months, I had to move into her home. And in the evenings, I would stay there at night and Steve would stay with the kids. So, I mean, that was very stressful on our marriage. We were trying to juggle, you know, still building the church, 2 young kids. Micah was 4 and Sydney was 2, my mom, and just the stress that I felt. We had a really tight relationship. I just love my mom. I couldn't have asked for a better one. And it was very hard on me. So we kind of went from caretakers for her, and within 6 months, it was me. And I have to say that as far as the experience in our marriage, I feel like we very much bonded.
Okay.
Yeah.
We were in sync. I had most of my work done at Emory, so I don't know how often we went up there, but we used them as dates. We would just like, okay, we have to do chemotherapy, and afterwards, where do you want to go? And so we got to spend a lot of time together. Steve was able to take off some work. So whereas with my mom, it was difficult. I just think because we had been through the experience, it kind of, you know, broke us in a little bit about what we were looking at. And I just felt like it was a really sweet time for us. So he was supportive. I was actually at the time I had anxiety losing my mom because she was the parent that I was very close to. I really didn't have much of a relationship with my father at the time. But, you know, I honestly just really developed some extreme anxiety. And so I think that Steve was really helpful in not only like protecting me and being with me, but I think that's a very normal thing when people do get a diagnosis. And that's one thing that I think that the spouse does need to deal with, because it's one thing when it's happening to somebody else, even if it's somebody in your inner circle. But when it's happening to you, it's 100% different. You know, losing my mom, it was hard to get my mind around, but the thought of my kids won't remember me. They're 2 and they're 4, you know, and it was just something at the next level to grapple with. And some people aren't that way. You know, some people, it might be the opposite. But I had to work through a lot of anxiety and learning to live out what we have been saying for years and years, and that every day my hands my life is in God's hands anyway, but it just brings it front and center in just a new way. So, but I think as far as our marriage, we did during that period of time, we did really well, in my opinion.
I'll say this, that I think, and it's going to kind of take it maybe a slightly different direction, but I think this is valuable, is that for us, working through, this sounds crazy, but working through church planning, working through cancer, and working through anxiety was by far the hardest.
Yeah.
And much harder than cancer.
People think that the cancer was the worst thing.
Oh, yeah.
Anxiety was worse.
Yeah.
No
and here's
way.
why.
Yes.
We understand cancer. Like cancer is what it is. You can read about it. You can get all kinds of information about it. It's physical. Here's what the deal is. Here's what the potential is. You can understand it. It's clear. And plus we had a little bit of experience understanding it, as bad as it was. I mean, that was super scary, but anxiety was just so confusing. And not know, I felt I had no idea how to help her. And I have my own anxiety. Kind of, it I think manifests itself differently than hers was. But it was a really difficult time for her, and I would say for us, because I literally felt helpless because I didn't understand it. I did not know how to help. I felt helpless. I saw my wife really struggling with something that I couldn't solve at all, and as a man, that's incredibly hard.
For sure.
Yeah. And the other thing is that for a lot of people now, it's changing a lot now. Mm-hmm. But 20 years ago, anxiety was not this public thing. It's like if you
talk about it,
right? You didn't talk about it because it meant that you had a mental problem.
Yeah,
right.
You know what I mean? That's what people thought.
Yeah.
And so people just suffered very privately.
Yeah.
And I think being in ministry and up in front of people, and I'm the worship leader. Hey, everything's let's worship God. All these things, which was all true, but having this more private anguish going on.
Yeah.
Now, the beautiful thing is I serve at a very supportive church with a very supportive staff and a very, very supportive leader in all of this. And so it wasn't as private as I think some suffering can be for people. But still, in the ministry, you're like, this isn't really supposed to happen. We're supposed to be able to trust God. We're supposed to lean on God, and bring our misunderstandings to Him so that He can strengthen us and give us clarity and wisdom and all those things. And she was, and we were. But when you feel like extreme anxiety, it's just like, you could probably speak to it better than me, Christy. But what I learned about it in those is your foundation just goes out from underneath you. You don't know. You don't feel like, you never know when it's coming. You don't know what's going to bring it on. You don't, and it again, it's so confusing, and it is hard, really hard to navigate. And it's also hard. It's hardest if you're going through it, but I think it's also hard for people who are in relationship like we were, because you just feel helpless. That was really hard.
It was hard. And, hindsight's 2020. I can look back and go, oh my gosh, thank gosh that happened, because God used it in my life in a way that He changed my life through it. I had to go through the process of it. I had to learn what He wanted me to learn. And it was a long process. It was 2, 3, 4 years before I came out on the other side. And it's funny because anxiety is usually based on fears. Well, for me, it was reality. My mom did pass away. The way in which she passed away was difficult. And we had some family situations that were going on top of that. And just, I had some major surgeries that I had to adjust to. Hysterectomy, menopause was a whole nother animal. And so it was just like a good, perfect storm. And, I look back and I understand that, well, yeah, you're going to get anxious. It's a natural response to these big life-changing events. And but I didn't know a lot about it. In fact, at first I didn't even know it was anxiety. Right. I just thought, it's all right. My mom passed away and now I'm broke. I don't, what is going on? Right. But, now it's just a part of a part of our.
From a timeline perspective, did she pass away before you got cancer?
She passed away September 30th, and then by the following March, I was diagnosed. So I did
kinda
have it at
remember
that
that.
time.
Gotcha.
I just hadn't been diagnosed.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember all that going down, and of course had little kids, and I can remember bits and pieces of the story. And I just remember in my mind, breaking for you, and just because I would see Nicholas, and then you got little Micah and little Sydney, and I knew you had just lost your mom, and I was just like, oh my gosh, how is she How are they doing this?
So let me ask you guys, you guys know us so well. Did you know that we were struggling with the anxiety thing?
A little bit, but not to the level, because you're right. No one really talked about it, but that was mentioned. And I even remember thinking back then, what is that? Like, because no one did talk about it. I mean, no one, it was like this hidden little thing. And I remember thinking, what is that? Like, what is that even looking like? Because for the audience, you didn't, not when I say just have cancer, you had it to this level. Like, she should not be here in this chair. I'm not kidding. Like, you really shouldn't be. It's awesome that you are. But I didn't know, to the level that it affected you.
Yeah. I don't know if you'd hit this way, but I remember it being, it was lost her mom. And then there was a few months of relief where I felt like this burden was off of her of caring for her mom. And I felt like she was beginning to have life again. Like, you could see it, you could experience, you could feel it. I think there was just a burden lifted. I wouldn't say joy. Yeah. But it was almost like joy. Yeah, you knew she was in heaven and her battle and struggle was over. Sure. But certainly a burden was lifted off of her. And because it was lifted off of her, it was then lifted off of me. But so the first of the year comes around, and the circumstances that brought it all on. But that's when she began to really wrestle with anxiety, was as a turn of the new year. And so we were walking through all of that with, again, a lot of, just lack of clarity around what's going on. And then all of a sudden we get this cancer, like, just lost her mom, but the Lord used it. I don't even know if we processed it this way, but looking back, I think we can. The Lord used it to give us something else to focus on.
It was actually a relief.
It was a blessing.
Isn't that weird?
Interesting. The anxiety.
Yes.
Well, I'm saying is the cancer gave us something
else to focus on.
Something else because it took so much of our focus. Wow. It brought us together. We had so much more time together, and it was just something to get our minds off of that. So and it was actually, because it helped. It actually, it sounds crazy, but it helped a lot.
Realize
but that's a good word.
How bad anxiety can be if you take that train to the end of the tracks, which I did. I didn't know what it was. I was determined that I was going to be a good pastor's wife. I was not going to get on medication once I actually figured out what was going on. And I just needed to trust the Lord more, and when I went to a few counselors, that's kind of what it came back to. And at the end of the day, it is actually, for me, what I should have been doing more of.
Right.
But it's just, I had no idea. So, when I see or hear somebody's really having trouble, I always go up and give them a hug. And I have a real heart for that, and also for cancer patients.
Sure.
So.
Do you think that did your anxiety increase after the cancer diagnosis? Because you said that the anxiety was there and that was majorly stressful, and then cancer comes and it gives you a little bit of a focus off of the anxiety. But did that level of anxiety increase, or did it stay steady, or what about that?
Once you kind of get the plan of this is what we're going to do, I think it calms things down. You understand so many weeks of, radiation, so many weeks of chemo, you're going to lose your hair. I think it calmed us down. I knew that it was the most aggressive form of cancer, but they were pretty adamant that we were catching it early. And so I elected to be really aggressive with our surgeries. Anything that they felt like we needed to do, I was all in. and they recommended that. I think when the cancer came back, that's when things hit the fan, because they had said if it came back, we didn't want it to come back. There would be very little they could do. So that's when it's like, oh, okay, so I'm not going to make it. My kids, okay, you were grappling with, what am I going to do? Like, it was that was the time, which was 4.5 years later, that I think you experienced the worst of your anxiety, the natural anxiety that comes along with situations like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Had your anxiety been reduced? Like, you found out, all right, I beat cancer. It's in remission. And that 4.5 years before it came back, was the anxiety, going down? Was it staying steady?
Well,
like what, that process of going through it.
Sure.
Versus where it was really strong. You get cancer. You understand, this is what I'm going through. I just had victory.
Sure.
And then what?
Well, I think there's the natural anxiety that comes from dealing with the situation of cancer.
Right.
And then for me, I think I've always, without realizing it, struggled with anxiety. And so I had to go on my own personal journey, that it's almost like the Lord was allowing, because I was like, Lord, I'm a pastor's wife. I'm serving you. How did I end up here? I believe you. I live by faith. You're true, and you're in charge, but I feel like I'm getting worse and worse and worse. So, I went through a little bit of a faith crisis, like the rubber's hitting the road. Like, if you don't step up for me right now, I have no idea where this is going to end up. And so Steve didn't understand, and I couldn't even explain it. But it was, I read a book called The Dark Night. It's a really deep little book about when God takes you through the refining period of life, where, he gets you, and he gets your full attention. And I had felt like throughout my life, I had always given my worries to him. But I realized during that time that I immediately would take them back if I felt like he was not acting quickly enough, or in the way that I wanted him to act. So he kind of got me alone in the corner. And I kind of feel like this is the way, it's so weird. It's the way I think of it, of, when you're killing a daddy long leg and you think he's gone, and then all of a sudden 2 legs will start to wiggle, and then you take a hand and you're like, bang, bang, bang. And then all of a sudden there's still 1 leg. And I feel like that's what he was doing to me. I feel like if there was any hope, and it's where I needed to go. I needed to completely give up where I was like, and it was just one day I had a moment with him, and I'm like, okay, I don't even have the effort and the mental strength anymore to keep calming myself down and trying to figure this out. Like, I'm done, and I'm scared. And if you don't show up right now, I need, this is it. Like, what good is it following you if you're not going to help me at my worst time? And that's where I was like, I'm getting worse. What's going on here? And I had a moment with the Lord where I'm like, okay, by faith, I'm laying it all down and I'm letting go. And I don't know what it's going to look like if I let go, but it's not going to be pretty. And I let go, and it was the first day of what I feel like was the rest of my life dealing with anxiety. Wow. Like, I didn't even fall. Like, I imagined I was on a cliff letting go, literally. And his hand came under, and the phrase mercy came running, and a relief was lifted off my shoulders. The anxiety just was gone. And he just put me back together. And it wasn't quick. It was a couple of years. Because I had let it go on so long, because I was determined to do it on my own, that you kind of get stuck in it. And so I, got with some counseling, and it was like, I don't even like to think about that. I had a little PTSD from it.
Sure.
But it was, I understand now. Yeah, I needed to go through it to truly let go, because I'm kind of scrappy. I might be quiet. I might be shy, but I have a strong will. And I had to be at a point where I would learn to really let go. And so facing the cancer and all that just became easier and easier.
Wow.
As he changed me, and it was a really refining moment for me.
So interesting how we think we give it all to him. Like we really do. In that we're like, you have it all, but we're really still in his way. Like we don't mean to be. And sometimes that's my prayer is help me get out of my own way so you can just do it all because I don't even realize I'm doing it, but you do. It's crazy.
Well, for me, I had to realize what is really stressing me out here among the normal, obvious things. And it is, even being a Christian and being in the ministry, I really had a fear of dying. And I didn't before, but as I watched my mom, what I feel like suffer, I was like, I don't want to do that. And it had just happened 6 months prior.
Yeah.
So I just didn't want to do that. And I had to literally sit and just go, okay, so worst case scenario, say this happens. Could I handle it? And I had to walk myself through the worst case scenario in dying of cancer. And that's what I had to do and lay it before the Lord. And once I did that, I'm like, if that's what the Lord's calling me to do, if this is what his plan is, I want that. It's just, I didn't think I could do it. And facing death and just looking at all the aspects of it, I realized it wasn't as scary as what I was thinking. Wow. And it's just what I had to do to be able to let the fear go. So that was kind of a moment for me where I turned a corner.
Gosh. Thanks for being so open with all that. That's just huge.
That is a normal thing that people, when they have cancer, go through. That's always the worst. Well, what if I don't make it? So you do have to deal with that.
Yeah.
So from your perspective, Steve, as she's going through this, you said the hardest part was anxiety, dealing with the anxiety. Did you get anxiety because she had anxiety?
I'm sure I did.
I really process this person.
Yeah, I don't really process life that way too much. I'm kind of like, I definitely have anxiety. I definitely feel anxiety, all those things. But I don't know. I just process it differently. I just kind of, run to the next thing I've got to do, and it doesn't affect me in the same way. Doesn't mean I don't have it. Just affects me in a different way. But I'll tell you that I think that as far as marriage goes, it was much easier for me to understand how to help her, to come alongside her when we were dealing with cancer, because there's not much happiness with anxiety. Not to go too far down the road of just all the anxiety. There's a lot of things for us to talk about, but it's just like you could go to you could go to and sit together and read or whatever, during chemotherapy. And then we always had the same place we went for lunch, after those treatments and everything. And there was some joy in it. There was some fun and there was some joy. There's just so little joy when you just feel like, you don't know where your mind is taking you. And so it's just hard. And I look back on that and I think, I just don't feel like I was very helpful to her. I didn't understand. Like I said, I didn't understand it. I struggled with it. I look back on some things where I was really impatient with her when she was going through it because I didn't understand it. And now I feel terrible. I really do. I think about that occasionally. I can remember certain conversations where I was very impatient with her. And it was out of pure ignorance. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like I did not understand what she was, I was only, in early to mid 30s.
Well, we both didn't
so
get
young.
anxiety or anything about it.
And it's just not something we were educated on. I was educated on. And so, anyway, just tough season. And I think this is important to say too, that while, I think that you would say, maybe you need to say it, that there are moments of anxiety still, but you have experienced a ton of healing over the last number of years. Because I think that a lot of people feel like I have this and it's never going to go away. It's just never going to get any better. And I would say, would you say that it's not gone away, but it has gotten a whole lot better.
Oh yeah.
So it's sort of dormant.
Yeah.
It stays pretty dormant.
I mean,
and you know how to.
there's some situations that, little red flags go off
Okay.
and I'm like, oh no. I mean, it's actually made me like, if something's not happening like right now or in the next hour, I don't want to worry about it. And I'm not going to. It's just like, I don't want to live that way anymore. I don't.
Yeah.
So that's been really helpful.
Yeah.
That's encouraging because there's a lot of people. So many
young people, especially.
Yes,
Yeah.
tons of young people dealing with anxiety.
So I didn't know we were going to dig.
I know.
Right? No.
That's why we never know.
This is really good. I'm sitting here and I'm just formulating these questions in my mind because it's taken this turn, which I like this turn because this is a common theme, as she just said. Anxiety is a very common thing and it's growing. Obviously, we know that it's growing because probably there's more baggage per se that's happening in people's lives, right? Families get broken up. I wanted to ask you about that a little bit. Like you didn't talk to your dad very much. And then your mom, she's like the center of your life.
Right.
And then she gets cancer. And so this anxiety, like where have you gone to counseling or have you discovered in your own life, like this is kind of the root. If I go back, this is where anxiety maybe kind of got its root in my life. Because when we talk about Jennifer and some of the things that she's been through and baggage in her life, or even me, we had an incident, I probably brought this up about me doing the dishes. And I realized after 33 years of marriage, and she says something about the dishes and it like gets me upset. I remember something happening with my mom putting dishes away. There was some baggage there. And this is why I didn't realize it. This was super interesting. 40 years later, I know why that ticked me off. Why you just said that to me, which is not a tick up you off reasonable thing.
Right.
A little
But
over the
it
top.
did.
Right?
Yeah.
But like, why did it?
Yeah.
And then I'm able to remember being in the kitchen, putting dishes away. And then this thing happens. And it's like, my mom didn't mean to hurt me, but that like made a difference.
Sure.
And they're like, you're not good enough.
Right.
And so that came to haunt me 40 years later, putting dishes away. So that's why I ask these questions, because during these podcasts, I like to try to get to the root, the very, very root, or where does that original baggage come from that has created this issue in our lives? And sometimes you read books, you go to counseling, life itself brings you to the result of, my gosh, this is why I feel this way, or this is why this affects me this way. This is where my buttons are. I didn't create these buttons. Maybe these buttons were created for me just because of the way I was raised or what I went through or whatever. But now I'm realizing introspectively, oh my gosh, this is why I feel this way. And then you can apply truth to it. And is this true? Like, should I have this thing going on in my head? No, that's not true. That's been a lie the whole time. But now I can see it and I can apply truth to it. Where a lot of times, if you never deal with your baggage, you never can apply the truth to it. You don't know what and why this is happening.
Like we have to rewire our brains, as Dr. Caroline Leaf, who I love, says.
Yeah. So my question then is, when this anxiety came up, the hardest part of going through cancer was anxiety. Can you go back and say, yeah, I think maybe this is a result of why?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. We're like you guys. We believe counseling is helpful and good, and
We're fans.
often.
We're all fans. Yeah.
So we've actually been going through this. We doing our yearly, and my counselor has been explaining that a lot of what we do is because of things that we've learned, or we have little sores that get pushed.
Yeah.
And for me, I think growing up with a dad that my dad always would say, I'll get to know my kids when they're older. I don't do kids. And he truly was not interested in having kids. I think my mom wanted kids and a lot of them. But I didn't have a relationship with him, even though we lived in the same home. And I think that, what we've been taught is that girls develop their self-esteem from their dads.
Yeah.
I also at the time didn't have a great relationship with my sister, but my mom, she just,
Yeah.
she
Covered it all.
loved me unconditionally. So I think that, and then the fact that I just think that, I don't know if I had a serotonin deficiency, which is what they thought maybe. But I've always been kind of a sensitive kid. And I just think that, that affected me.
Yeah.
It really did.
If I felt like or heard what you just told me about your dad, I would instantly be a sensitive kid.
Yeah.
Like instantaneously.
Yeah. Well,
that's so terrible and damaging. And you didn't ask for that.
Right.
Every kid wants to be completely loved and adored by their parents, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's like the number one thing is you want that.
Yeah.
And so for that to happen, that's a sword right through your heart as far as I'm concerned. So
especially girls and their dads.
That's what I was going to say.
That's a big one.
I think you get your nurture from your mom.
Yep.
Typically. I mean, there are exceptions.
I agree.
Nurture from your mom, but you get safety from your father. Like that's where
self-worth.
Right. Sure. Self-worth and a sense of safety and
safety is another word of saying non-anxiety. Really?
Yeah. Right. Right? So if you fast forward it, what I think it led to all of her anxiety was just not feeling safe.
Yeah.
Totally.
Not feeling secure.
Yeah.
And then what she was saying is she had to really work this out with her heavenly father.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
To say, can I trust you for my safety?
Yeah.
And that was a journey.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's so true. I know. I want to go from here. I mean, I could stay on this topic for so much longer, but
this is just the continued
you
theme.
Have kids. We have time.
I mean, it is. All right. So my next question is, what did you tell your children in regards to your diagnosis? But I think this is a little bit of a different question in regards to the first time they're 2 and 4, the next time they're 8 and 10 or whatever.
Right.
So probably the 2 and 4 was a little easier than the 8 and 10 because not only are they younger, but then, hey guys, by the way, it's back.
Right.
Right. So
remember. Do you remember what we told them?
Yeah, I'm
God
sure.
help you forget.
I'm sure probably the most confusing thing was when Mommy and Daddy lost their hair. That was probably
well, the first time Steve shaved his head in sympathy.
Yeah.
Well, we did it all together.
We did.
Yeah.
We did it all together.
And we let them
you
shave.
didn't shave the kids' hair.
No,
just we let them shave our hair.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that on video?
Well, actually, he did a smiley face in the back of my head first, and then he let the kids know.
So cute.
So,
yes,
but
we do have. Well, we have pictures.
We have pictures.
Yeah.
We have pictures of it.
Okay.
That was back when you had the big camcorder.
Yeah. It's hard to.
Little Micah.
You can't do that.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, but I don't.
You don't even recall what you said, what they said.
We didn't share the full extent of it.
Yeah,
okay.
Of course. So
especially the first time because they wouldn't have understood anyway.
Yeah.
I'm sure we said something's going on, but I don't know how much they comprehended the second time because they were 7 and 9, weren't they?
Or 8 and 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were still, we didn't know how it was going to end. You don't.
Sure.
And so I didn't want people to worry.
You don't want them to worry.
You don't want them to worry. It literally hurt my heart to even explain what I did. Like literally like a knife in my heart. So I think that we shielded them to some degree until we could understand more what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember them asking a lot of questions about it.
No, I don't either.
They'd
been part of their lives with grandma. And then, it was 2 years of everything.
Yeah.
So
do you think that they put what you were going through, do you think they connected it with how your mom
probably
passed away?
Losing the hair.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
that'll be a good question for them.
Yes,
we've asked Micah if he and Nikki might come on one day.
Yeah.
So the process of going through it the first time versus the second time,
Mm-hmm.
from an anxiety standpoint, had things changed? Obviously, the anxiety came down when the cancer went away, but then when it came back, was it like light a fire back up?
No.
Of anxiety?
So?
Yes, but I just feel like, I had grown.
Okay.
And I just didn't want to live that life anymore. I didn't I didn't want to.
It was a conscious choice.
It was a conscious choice. Like, I
like that.
don't want that to be my life. I want to enjoy life. And, even with cancer, there might be difficult, and I think it's true with all of us, any bad situation that's going on, but there's still all the good things going on. There's still all the blessings that the Lord gives you. It's not all bad or all good.
Right.
So we had a lot of wins, and there were just so many good things going on with the church and in our marriage. And
I think in those 5 years we learned a lot of tools, spiritual tools.
Yes.
Tools that you got in counseling or we got in counseling. And so the second time around, I think we're much more prepared because it hit us like a shovel on the side of the head. The first time I did not see it coming. Right. And because when it came like a freight train, didn't it? Mm-hmm. And I think it just caught both of us so by surprise. I didn't, like I said, I just didn't know anything about it.
Well, I was like 3 months from my 5-year mark. And we were actually driving home from cleaning out my dad's apartment after he passed away from Ohio. And I'm like,
So you lost 2 parents right before, like your mom and then your dad on the second round. You lost your dad and then you get cancer right after that again. So exact same thing.
Yes.
Jeez.
Kind of, yes. And I'm like, there's a lot of scar material here and I keep feeling this thing and maybe I should just go get it checked out. So I called and they're like, oh yeah, you need to get in here today. So I went to the one test and they're like, nope, there's nothing there, but we have a second test scheduled across the hall. Why don't you just go do it since you're here? And I did. And they're like, oh no, there's something there. So I don't think I was expecting that. Although I can tell you that every time they're like, oh no, we got it. Definitely nothing to worry about. I always had this little, what did they? So I don't think it was a complete surprise to me. Okay. I kind of always had this feeling like,
not sure.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of, just because of our family history with cancer that, she lost her mom, she lost her aunt when she was still young. And so there was the doctors just kept telling us that like, this is, in fact, I said it when I spoke the last time that there was one very, very practical, I would say. Yes. Oncologist who basically said that with this type of cancer and your situation, your family history and all the things, it's not if, but when. Like unless you die of some other kind of way, this is probably, how you will expire.
Well, those are the statistics.
Right. And I know. I've never forgotten it because I was just like dumbfounded when she said that.
Well, statistics don't include God. So
exactly.
That's it.
Obviously, because you are a walking miracle for sure.
Was your relationship different with your dad, prior to that second diagnosis? Like when he passed away, had it changed over time?
Did he ever step up and
did he like kids because they were older now?
What I don't want to do is down him. I've tried to be conscious about that. Mm-hmm. I had a experience with him about 3 months. My grandmother had passed away. We were up in Ohio at her funeral, and he had met Micah when Micah was 18 months old, but he had never met Sydney, and they were 8 and 10. And we had sent school pictures, and they had written him letters, and when we met up with him at the funeral, I remember him asking somebody else. He didn't know I had heard him what their names were again. And I was like, okay.
They're 8 and 10 years old.
Yeah, right.
And he doesn't remember their names.
Okay. This is a point where I need to go. We need to stop this, this chasing after
pursuit.
Yeah. And honestly, I just think he was wired differently. I just don't think that he had those natural paternal feelings. Having kids has made me look at that like, I really don't understand that because, I really wanted my kids to meet him and for him to see how amazing they were. But, it didn't happen. So I had actually was going through a process of just letting him go and to get to a healthier place with all that. So no, not really.
Yeah.
But I believe he is a believer and I'll see him in heaven and it's going to be completely different.
Well, This is a similar story to Jennifer. And, it's hard to understand as parents to not feel the way that you feel about your kids, that someone else would be that way. But I think for me, I always go back to, well, how were they raised and what childhood did they grow up in?
Right.
And they certainly didn't ask to be the way that they are, and they have their own baggage, and so you have to give them grace. Like, you know what, you're doing the best that you can do, that you even know how to do.
Right.
And I'm not going to fault you. It may suck. It may be like, what is wrong with you? But they were raised in a family, and it's just a cyclical thing. I mean, that's the whole point for counseling, I think, is to stop the cycle of what you grew up in, stop that baggage from happening, because I don't want to pass it on to my kids. I do not. Yeah. I know I've passed stuff on to my kids 100%, and that will show its ugly face. But my goal is to look at it, try to pay attention to it, minimize. Yeah, absolutely. So I ask these kind of deep questions just because there's people out there who totally have parents who they love them, they seek after them, and the parents may not do the same thing back. And it's terribly sad and it's wrong, but it's baggage, and they need to understand they can go somewhere else other than their parents to get the love that they need to fill that void in their heart. Right. That's there.
Right.
It's just not fair. It's not great, but that's what God wants us to do.
And I can tell you, based on that I can look back now and say 100% that the relationship that I have now, I would not have if I had been as close to my dad, because I really pursued God to be my heavenly Father. I felt like I needed it, and He gave it to me, and He, beauty from ashes. He really was a father to me in a way that I needed to, and it's impacted my relationship with Him even as an adult. So,
which is beautiful. I mean, full dependency on Him, and that's so true. Him being the only father that matters, really matters. But that's what we've said this before too, that we always have teased Nicholas and Jade and said, if financially it allows, we'll pay for your undergrad and we'll pay for your counseling. Because we did the best we could, but we have never claimed to be perfect parents, nor have we claimed that we
never heard anybody say that. That's awesome.
Yeah. And they're young adults, as you know, and the offer stands, and it's been taken up on.
Yeah.
We'll get a little text message that says, "Mom owes for counseling," and we're like, "There it is."
Oh gosh.
There it is.
We earned it, per se, right?
That's right.
You guys are great parents. I don't think you give yourself nearly the credit you deserve.
Well, you unfortunately, a lot of times you pass on what you received. And some of that,
especially if you're still working,
some of that
stuff.
Is not so much good. Another thing too, and I want to make this, we say this a lot, but a lot of times people don't want to talk ill about their parents. That's just a thing.
Right.
But you have to, it's a respect and it's a thing, but you have to realize I still love you, Mom and Dad. I still care for you. I still look up to you. I still honor you, but you're not perfect. And I'm just stating the fact you're not perfect. And it's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to say, she and I have messed up as parents. We own it. I'm not saying we did a great job. We did the best that we could with the tools we had at the time. We messed up. We're going to leave some scars with you guys, and that's okay. We don't love you any less. We want you guys to love us, but it's okay to not be perfect parents. Like, that's fine.
But don't you think... Oh, sorry.
And
let me just say, I just want to say this one thing.
Into the tracks to be run over by the train. I'm just stating some real facts here. That's all.
So you use the term messed up. And when you said that, I'm like, well, wait a minute. No. Because I don't think you messed up with your kids. I think it was messy. You know what I mean? I think it was, in moments did you, maybe. I think we would say that too. But I would just say that I just think life is messy.
It is. We're in a fallen world.
I think that parenting is messy. I think being children is messy. I just think it's messy. It's hard. You know, and thank God for God. That when we're old enough to understand, mature enough to understand, because it can happen at any season of life. Maturity can happen very young for some.
Not for us.
That you can just run. Well, you can just run to God, regardless of what the thing is.
We laugh and we kind of messed up as parents, but we're going to be great grandparents.
That's right.
Because we got the tools now, and we know what we did wrong now. And
that is 100% true statement, though. I mean, it is. It is.
I think what I was going to say, I think too, what you're saying, of course, I'm all with you on that. But I also think you and I have been through a ton of Christian counseling, like a ton, that we recognize that in ourselves of our flaws and, things we've done. If you don't have a mom and a dad that have been through any type of counseling, a lot of people haven't, it's harder for them to recognize that in themselves. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So I'm covering them in grace, but I'm just saying for the child, that adult child or whatever that decides, gosh, I got some issues here, let's go to counseling. And they have to start saying things about their parents. They may never also get that, the confirmation from their parents that, it was hard, I messed up. They may not. And so, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to say we're further along. I'm not saying it that way, but when you've been through a lot of counseling,
I think it's
really
okay to say you're further along.
No, they didn't talk about it back then.
No,
they still don't.
No.
They didn't talk about it, but we're so just emphatic about people go get counseling and understand where your issues are. Understand where your issues are and your baggage, because when you can get there and you understand that I went through the things I went through, I didn't ask to have the baggage that I have, but I have it, or I made some mistakes and I brought that baggage on myself.
Sure.
But I'm still owning it. Here's a little aviation analogy, right? So when we go get our pilot's ratings, it is constant testing and then evaluation. Testing, evaluation, and you're evaluated, and then you're told what you are not doing correctly. And you have to swallow that pride. I didn't do that correctly. I didn't do that correctly. But guess what? This is how you do it correctly. These are the changes you make. Now go study, do it, get evaluated again, and then you do well. And this goes on for 40 years of flying for me.
Because lives are at stake. Right?
But
what a perfect analogy.
Right.
Because lives are at stake in our lives.
Lives are at stake in our lives as parents, and you're passing on the next generation, right? And so one thing that, I know that I fly with a lot of guys who fly fighters. In the fighter community, they're the most hard on each other, but in a good way. They go over every single detail and they say, this is what you did right. This is what you did wrong. They debrief and they talk about this stuff. And then the whole purpose is to not tear you down, but to say, refine. So next time these mistakes won't happen. That's essentially what we're doing when we go to counseling. Baggage is brought up. This is what we have. This is the truth. This is how you repair it. Right. This is what we make better. And then what has happened to airline safety? It's gotten safer and safer and safer over time because this is how we do things. So if we apply this, say, to marriages, get some counseling, go to where those hurts are, go to where that baggage is, deal with it, you're going to learn the truth. You're going to get better. Parents, spouses, relationships. And then what are you going to do? You're going to pass it on better to your kids.
And one thing that I think is important, Mike, to say is, so if you are around us much, my brother and I, particularly my sisters, we have nothing but good things to say about our parents. I mean, only because I tell Christie all the time, like, if I could live in the legacy of my dad or be like him as a man, gosh, would I find that to be amazing? Because my dad's 90. Talked to him on the way here.
I love Mr. Veale.
Yeah, I talked to him on the way here, and I mean, I just don't know how you could humanly have a better father. But guess what? We're still in counseling.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a better mother. I mean, I just such the opposite experience.
Yeah.
My dad, every time we talk almost every day. We always tell each other we love each other. He would just give anything that he could to me and for me. But there are some things that he was not great at, as a growing up and all that stuff. And that affected me and my siblings. And so, I think it's not just if your parents were messed up,
right?
It's we're all messed up, right? We're all messy. Yeah. And so I think I think to go and get some help, you get daily help in the Word and from the Holy Spirit, and, intimate time in the secret place and all those kind of things, which is just critical. But then to have somebody else sit down with you and and listen to what you're saying, and especially even as couples, because I can finish her sentences, finish every one of her sentences that when she's saying something that's hard for her in our marriage, and so if I can finish her sentences, chances are I'm not really listening, to have somebody else to say, hang on, wait a minute, and make you slow down and actually listen.
Right.
It's super valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
and I
true.
think sometimes the best time for counseling is when you're not at each other's throats.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
That's because we do our.
There's no hard shell that's going to keep the good information from coming in.
We call them our yearly just tune-ups, like a car. You tune up a car, so why don't you tune up your marriage? And I remember maybe it was last year. I'm like, okay, it's time. It's time to call Barbara. And Mike will be like, but everything's great.
Yeah.
I said, but and we do, and somehow she just pulls it out, and we're like, okay.
Yeah.
So it's important even when things
we
are
didn't
good.
used to do that, but I think now we will always do that.
Yeah,
Very valuable.
it's just so good.
Super
so
good. Okay, this is
we talking about the kids a little bit now?
We're going to talk about the kids after this one last question, but I wanted to get this one last question in because I want to know how it relates to cancer. And that is, so I listen to a lot of military podcasts, and these military people will come back from Afghanistan, Iraq, wherever, and they will have this survivor's guilt. Like, why did I make it out? Why did I get through? I was, there with these people, and now I'm not. I mean, or I am, and they're not. Do you ever think about that? Like, especially because you're in ministry, and this stuff is happening at church all the time, and who God decides to take and who He doesn't is His desired will, and that's just the way it is. We have to swallow that pill. But do you feel that way?
I do.
And what is that mentally like? I mean,
well, I have a cousin
especially
right
twice,
now.
right?
Right. I have a cousin right now who had cancer when I did, and her cancer has come back, and there's a lot of guilt, and you feel guilty that you're healthy and doing great, and it all comes down to me. I mean, the Lord knows our days, and you have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
Like you just give it to Him.
I just have to give it to Him, and the guilt, because, one thing, and I always encourage them is, I don't know what the Lord has for you or for me, but one thing I do encourage them with is I wasted a lot of time worrying about what He had for me. And that's the thing that I'm determined not to do, because I spent a lot of time thinking about what if I wasn't here, what would happen with my kids. And I am here. So that time was a waste. And,
right.
Don't waste it that way, because you don't know what He has for you. And that's not something you can just decide to do. You have to work on that. But I do. I feel guilty. I don't know that there's a way not to.
Yeah.
Wow. No, I'm glad you said that, because that was a question I had. That
my story's one of hope, because it didn't matter what the doctor said.
That's right.
God is the one who holds our days, and so He
said, "Nope, not yet."
Yeah.
I think it's incredibly hard to make this practical, to make it real. But we also have to remember that this isn't the ultimate experience, the earth, living and continuing to live here and all of that. The ultimate experience is to be present with Christ and to be in heaven and to be healed and well and enter into your eternity and that dispensation. And I think that for believers, we have the opportunity to be like, I think the thing that she said many times that scared her the most, I think she feels like I would have been okay. That's what she always says.
I do.
It's the kids. It was the kids growing up without, without their mom. And of course, that isn't going to be okay. That is going to be really hard and have brokenness everywhere and it all. But I do think that it's important for us to know that as Christ followers, that there is something awaiting us that is the ultimate thing.
Yeah.
And I know, again, I think that's hard to, if you're facing death, I think that that's a really hard thing to just be like, oh,
Oh yeah.
But it is a truth. It is a truth. And I think that truth needs to impact our thinking. We need to be reminded of it. I think, like my dad's ready, and he's 90, but man, he's ready.
Oh.
He is ready.
Yeah.
He studied, he's preached the Bible for 60 years. He's ready to experience a lot of the things that he's preached about. So,
well, I haven't knocked on the door of death that I know of, right? Because you never know. I mean,
sure, you have all those car accidents.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
On the way to the airport.
Yes, they're real. They weren't even his fault.
I literally
Do you remember any of
have
those?
never been in a plane crash, and I've been in 3 car wrecks on the way to the airport. So that's what I tell people. Like, believe me, you got to the airport, you are so safe.
Earlier,
I know. But is that the fear of just how my wife is going to react, or my kids? That's the part that is just the most scary about death to me. It's not me and where I'm going. I'm sure the sting of death is not going to be fun, but it's like, oh, now my kids, they don't get to live with me. How horrible is that?
Yeah.
Or my wife, right? Or my dogs. They're going to think, where's Daddy? He's not petting me.
and they would.
They would for
miss
about
you
a week,
terribly.
right?
No, for the rest of their
No,
lives.
not the kids, the dogs. I'm sorry.
Oh, the dogs. I don't know. You guys are pretty close to your dogs.
All right. So Jennifer.
Oh, do I need my readers?
If you think you can read that without them, then go for it, girl.
Well, where are we jumping to?
Let's jump into the kids. Let's jump into the kids a bit here.
Gosh, that's such a long one, though.
Well, I mean,
we're just running low on time.
Well, of course, we're always running low on time. This is the story of our lives. All right. So let me ask this. Okay. So we brought up in the very, very beginning that one of your kids decided that they wanted to become an atheist.
Right.
And they became an atheist, and now it's been full circle and completely came around.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I want you to talk a little bit about that, but I want to ask the question because I'm thinking in my own mind, right? You brought up the point on anxiety was harder than the cancer.
Mm.
And as a Christian parent, and you raise a kid, you really want them to know the Lord.
Right.
You're thinking long term, like you just said, long term, not just short term.
Eternity, right?
Yeah, eternity.
Right.
When that reality is in front of you with a child that's like, no, not real, I'm an atheist. Is that as bad as going through cancer? Is that as bad as anxiety? What's that feel like? Like from a mother's and a father's perspective?
Christy and I held hands and shed tears together way more times for the sake of our kids than we ever did anxiety or cancer.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Without it, there's no question about that. I mean, that was 10 years of hell.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's what it was.
It felt like we were in a spiritual battle that it was like a Linus cloud that followed you around everywhere. Like, how did we get here?
Mm-hmm.
What did we do wrong? Of course, that's the first thing you do.
Yeah, as
what did we do
parents,
wrong?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it affected us the full 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so heartbreaking, to and it wasn't just heartbreaking for she and I, it was also heartbreaking for Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
Sydney was very frustrated, angry, hurt by, the fact that because she was not only processing it as a young believer, she was really processing as a family culture. Like, this is our family culture. Like, this is like church and Christianity and faith and those things is what we do. And you're just deciding you don't want to be a part of that. And it really hurt her that he was just because I think she felt like rejection at a family level, which was a little different, I think, than how we were processing it. But so, but yeah, it was incredibly frightening because if I lost Christy, at least I know that she's going to be, I'm going to see her again. There's no question I'm going to see her again. And Micah had put his faith in Christ and been baptized when he was young. And so we had that. But of course, and Christy and I even struggled to be on the same page about that.
Yeah. Okay.
Because she never had any doubt about his salvation. But I, the theologian,
no, this is a great conversation. Honestly,
her theology may be better, but I'm just going.
That's why book smart's not always.
I see
exactly.
I see no fruit in his life. Like I see like, I see, and what was, parents would say to me, they're like, my kid's just really angry with the church and God. And I'd be like, get on your knees and thank the Lord that they have anger towards God, because they can't have anger in something they don't believe in.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Micah had no anger.
But Micah did show a relationship with the Lord early on, in like early junior high. Like, he invited his friends, he took notes at everything.
Right.
But in these years, I mean, he wasn't angry. He felt like the church was a great thing. He felt like he loved Pastor Brian.
Yeah.
He believed the church, that culture would seriously go to hell in a handbasket without the church. Like, he felt like it was super, super valuable. He just didn't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
He just didn't believe that God was real. And in fact, I just asked him the other day. I was asking him, because a lot of times people choose atheism or just not believing God, whatever that looks like, out of rebellion. In other words, because I can't do this, I'm just going to pretend like there is no God, because I really want to go after this, and I know that I can't do that. I don't feel like I can do that if I'm a believer. So I'd rather just have that and say that there is no God. So I asked him about that, and he goes, "Nah, not so much." He said, that really wasn't my story.
Wow.
My story was, I just couldn't get in my mind. I couldn't get my mind around, that God is real, and because everything scientifically,
Which, by the way, listeners,
point the other way.
Micah is extremely smart. He's very, very smart.
Well, and I have a billion questions, but we're going to have Micah on, because he's going to be able to answer these questions.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know from the perspective of the parents, when that's such a large, it is the focus of kind of your earthly goal, right? I mean, if you have an earthly goal, it's like to raise a little disciple and just to pass on what you believe to be completely true, like the truth, right? You want to pass that on and I guess help your kids like love the Lord the same way you do.
Just eternity thinking. You want to know your kids are going to be with you in heaven. That's it. Nothing else matters when you become a parent. Seriously.
While I was pregnant. Just Lord, if we do anything,
right,
just let them know you.
Mm-hmm.
That is the most important thing.
Yeah. It's so, there's so much still, a billion things to unpack. But, for people that are listening, as you have heard, the Veales have been through a lot in a marriage. They've been through a lot. Cancer twice, devastating cancer twice. The
death of two parents.
Death of two parents within a 6-month period of that. And then a child that literally just decides, nope, not real. So even if you're not to the level where we are, as far as all being married 30-something years or whatever, listen to this with the hearts of how these two ran to the Lord. That was all that mattered. That was all that saved them in going through this, including the anxiety. And let it be an encouragement. This wasn't supposed to be like some downer thing. I don't think it was, but I want you to be encouraged by what they shared, what they openly shared, because you're going to go through stuff. You just are. It's the world we're in until we do get to heaven. So be encouraged by this and re-listen to it, because it will help you along life's journey. Because for one family to go through all that, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Oh my gosh.
I literally.
You can take any one of those fingers of that and just say, that's too much. That's too much. That's too much.
Exactly.
I can't handle that. And you did. And it's amazing. Like your scrappiness and your strength that you talked about, God knew you could handle all the things that you could handle, because you are so strong and scrappy. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
It's almost like, thank you, God, for all those icky gifts, because you knew we could handle it.
Sure.
Like that's speaks volumes.
We invited
honestly.
him into it, and he just used it. He used it in our lives. He molded us and he shaped us, and we are 100% better people from it.
Suffering is always, when God uses suffering in our lives, it's always to get our hands off of what is horizontal, in other words, what is earthly, and to get our gaze to go up, because that's what we do. I never prayed so hard as when Micah was, telling me that he didn't want to have anything to do with faith or God or all those things. I think our intimacy with God was probably as strong, and we probably grew a ton in our understanding of who God is. And, and whatever the suffering looks like, it always just, it kind of peels back our fingers of the things, whether it's our health or our jobs or our stuff or our, what our money, whatever the thing is, to get it off of those things, because we're trying to make those things ultimate, and there's only one ultimate thing, which is a relationship that is eternal with God in heaven. And so, in some ways, nobody wants to suffer because it's hard and it hurts and it's just so all of those things. But suffering is a blessing and it's a gift from God if you let it be.
Yeah.
And so look at our situation now. It's like, okay, what's coming next? But but we are great. Our relationship with Micah and Nikki and Sydney and Tanner are great. Is great. I think we have the opportunity to share, and we do a lot, especially around the whole anxiety and then even more so around, just walking through seasons where your kids are just really struggling. We just had so many conversations where we were just able to really encourage people. And I think that the area where it breaks our heart the most is when we know that parents are in the middle of it.
Yeah. And it's been going on for a long time.
When they're in the middle of it, man, my heart just breaks for them. Because many of them, they're going to be in it for a lot longer than 10 years.
We're 10 years for us was actually lucky. It's long as some parents have really struggled with that. But I'll tell you, it's like the amount of time we spent in prayer, what he actually gave us when it was the right time to move was far greater than we were even envisioning or could ever have thought to ask for. It was so much better. And I asked Micah when he kind of made his decision. It was a process, but I'm like, do you remember this time when we were doing this? What were you thinking? And I kept asking him that. And finally one day he's like, Mom, I don't know. Here's what I can tell you. I needed every last day of that till the very last day to be able to make my decision to change. So if things had happened sooner, I wasn't ready. Like I could see you doing all these things in Dad, trying to insert things strategically into my life.
I remember some of those talks. I remember some of those talks.
I needed 10 years.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm like, well, God knew that too.
Yeah.
We didn't.
Right.
But thankfully we pursued prayer and didn't give up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Early on, he would use the story, but God had to take me all the way around here to get me over to here. And Dakota Adair, dude lived with us and church planner now, awesome. He goes, Micah, I understand what you're saying, but don't blame your rebellion on God. God was not responsible for your rebellion. You were responsible for your rebellion.
Wow.
So all of that time, he was waiting and moving you towards repentance. You were unwilling.
Wow.
Man.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Go Dakota.
That's great.
Oh, gosh.
That's good.
You wrestling with that? Are you wrestling with that as a truth?
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
you had that look on your face. If you were...
We're talking a lot about prayer in church right now.
Yeah.
And obviously you guys have had so many things to pray about over the last 25, 30 years. Can you say you look at prayer differently today than you did 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago?
100%.
And so put 100%. That into a succinct, small, what does prayer look like differently today in a small 30-second form?
Yeah, I'm going to say this really quickly because I want to hear her. I want to hear her words.
15 seconds then for you. And
it's made me feel like prayer, that nothing is impossible through prayer. You always know that, right? But now I look back and I go, well, if you did that, I know you can do this.
Okay. And what's your 15 seconds?
That's hard. I think our faith was so built by the whole process with Micah and seeing how he answered all of our concerns in the end, but we had to stick with it. And it was hard to stick with it because you're 5, 6, 7, you kind of lose hope. This is what it is. But when he answers in the right time, it builds your faith in such a way that nothing else can. He listens, he hears, he's in control. I can trust that. So keep praying.
I love that.
It was the prayer faith journey that we went through was remarkable in that situation.
Wow.
Finish us up, babe.
Rapid fire. Do we have time for quick rapid fire?
Well, this is a one-word answer.
Yeah, we do. We're going to do it.
This is a one-word answer.
Yeah, these are rapid fire.
You have to give me a one-word answer.
If you can.
And so whoever comes up with the answer first, you don't have to hit anything to say, your biggest struggle. Today.
It could be, today. You want today.
Your biggest struggle.
In our marriage or just in marriage?
However you see it. Could be within yourself.
I think it's marrying our different personalities
Okay.
on a day-to-day basis.
Your biggest strength.
Unity.
Love that. That's good for answer one.
That's good. That's good.
Your greatest accomplishment.
Our children.
What you still want to accomplish.
Unity.
and then you can both give this. Your favorite word in the Bible.
Hope.
Grace.
Good.
Wow, they were really obeyed.
They did. I can't believe they got through so fast.
One word, they can't do it. That was good. We should be on a game show.
Close us out, sweetie.
Well,
Flight attendant, prepare the cabin for landing.
I hate to even close it out because I feel like there is just so much more to unpack. But maybe we could have you on again. I don't know. But yeah, you guys, thank you so much for giving of your time and opening your hearts and
vulnerability.
It makes me cry because it brings back so many memories of praying for them and praying for Micah and literally just going, Lord, I do not understand why you're allowing this for them. It grew me because I feel like I was kind of baby Christian when this church started and just learning so many things. So to see all that was just, wow, crazy. But we thank you so much for coming. We love you guys. We love you so much.
Thanks for your vulnerability and all that as well. All right, everybody.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
We'll
Thanks for listening.
See you next time. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
See you. Bye.